Welcome to this morning's program. Thank you. I invite you to please sing some prayers with me this morning. We all know it well. Jai Radha Madhava. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodhanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodhanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Natira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Radha Radhanata Radha Radhanata Radhe Jaya Radha Radhanata Radha Radhanata Radhe Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Nitai Gaur Hari Bol Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Oh Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol. Their Lordship Shri Shri Radha Radhanath Ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna. So this morning we are reading from the Nectar of Instruction, text 7. Please repeat after me. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 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 So text 7, next Nectar of Instruction. Sat Krishna Nama Charita Di Sita Pa Avidya Pitopat Rasanasya Na Rochikanu Kintu Adharat Adhinam Hu Kala Sve Jastu Sadvikramat Bhavati Tadgada Mula Hantari. So that is the Sanskrit of text 7, translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. The holy name, character, pastimes and activities of Krishna are all transcendently sweet like sugar candy. Although the tongue of one afflicted by the jaundice of avidya, ignorance, cannot taste anything sweet, it is wonderful that simply by carefully chanting these sweet names every day, a natural relish awakens within his tongue, and his disease is gradually destroyed at the root. Purport: the holy name of Lord Krishna, his quality, pastimes, and so forth, are all of the nature of absolute truth, beauty, and bliss. Naturally, they are very sweet, like sugar candy, which appeals to everyone. Nescience, however, is compared to the disease called jaundice, which is caused by bilious secretions. Attacked by jaundice, the tongue of a diseased person cannot palatably relish sugar candy. Rather, a person with jaundice considers something sweet to taste very bitter. Avidya, ignorance, similarly perverts the ability to relish the transcendently palatable name, quality, form, and pastimes of Krishna. Despite this disease, if one with great care and attention takes to Krishna consciousness, chanting the holy name and hearing Krishna's transcendental pastimes, his ignorance will be destroyed and his tongue enabled to taste the sweetness of the transcendental nature of Krishna and his paraphernalia. Such a recovery of transcendental health is possible only by the regular cultivation of Krishna consciousness. When a man in the material world takes more interest in the materialistic way of life than in Krishna consciousness, he is considered to be in a diseased condition. The normal condition is to remain an eternal servant of Krishna. Jivera Swarubhaya Krishnerya Nityadas Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila 20:108. This healthy condition is lost when the living entity forgets Krishna due to being attracted by the external features of Krishna's Maya energy. This world of Maya is called Darusraya, which means false or bad shelter. One who puts his faith in Darusraya becomes the candidate for hoping against hope. In the material world, everyone is trying to become happy. And although their material attempts are baffled in every way due to their nescience, they cannot understand the mistakes. People try to rectify one mistake by making another mistake. This is the way of the struggle for existence in the material world. If one in this condition is advised to take to Krishna consciousness and be happy, he does not accept such instructions. This Krishna conscious movement is being spread all over the world just to remedy this gross ignorance. People in general are misled by blind leaders. The leaders of human society, the politicians, philosophers, and scientists, are blind because they are not Krishna conscious. According to the Bhagavad Gita, because they are bereft of all factual knowledge due to the atheistic way of life, they are actually sinful rascals and are at the lowest amongst men. I'll continue reading because the purport is quite long by Srila Prabhupada, but I will pick out specific points to highlight this morning. There are 3 stages in chanting the holy name of the Lord: the offensive stage, the stage of lessening offenses, and the pure stage. When a neophyte takes to the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, he generally commits many offenses. There are 10 basic offenses, and if the devotee avoids this, he can glimpse the next stage, which is situated between offensive chanting and pure chanting. When one attains the pure stage, he is immediately liberated. As soon as one is liberated from the blazing fire of material existence, he can relish the taste of transcendental life. One must begin with faith, and when this faith is increased by chanting, a person can become a member of the society. We are sending Sankirtan parties all over the world, and they're experiencing that even in the remotest part of the world, where there is no knowledge of Krishna, the Hare Krishna Mahamantra attracts thousands of men to our camp. If one is sincere, he is initiated, and this stage is called Bhajana Kriya. One then actually engages in the service of the Lord by regularly chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra 16 rounds daily. Although Maya may be present, it cannot disturb a devotee once he attains the Bhav stage. This is because the devotee can see the real position of Maya. Maya means forgetfulness of Krishna, and forgetfulness of Krishna and Krishna consciousness stand side by side like light and shadow. If one remains in shadow, he cannot enjoy the facilities offered by light. And if one remains in light, he cannot be disturbed by the darkness of shadow. And as stated in Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela 22:31, Krishna is compared to sunshine and Maya is compared to darkness. Wherever there is sunshine, there cannot be darkness. As soon as one takes to Krishna consciousness, the darkness of illusion, the influence of external energy will immediately vanquish. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chakshur Militam Jaina Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhlistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupam Kadamayam Dadhanti Swam Padantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Patakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sarvadutam Sahagana Raghunatan Sadvaitam Sarvadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute. Tapta Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Suta Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatharubhyascha Kripa Sindubhya Evacha Patitanan Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Shri Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Devaya Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paskatya Deshatarine. Thank you. I'd like to welcome you all once again to this morning, the Sunday morning program here at the Sri Sri Radha Radhanath Temple in Durban. And before I begin, I pray for blessings from all the Vaishnavas that are present so that I could speak something that's pleasing to the heart, something that's pleasing to Srila Prabhupada and the Acharyas. So this morning, we are focusing on the Nectar of Instruction, text 7. So if you've been following over the past few weeks, we've been working through the Nectar of Instruction. And actually at this point, we've learned or we've read through the verses previous of all the things that Srila Rupa Goswami advises us not to do. So there's many things that we've been speaking about bad association and so on. And now this is one of the single most important verses in the Nectar of Instruction. And we look at Srila Prabhupada, Srila Rupa Goswami also explaining here in the Nectar of Instruction that we're looking at the word or the term avidya. And that meaning ignorance. Now, when we look at the word ignorance itself, we understand that it has a negative connotation. A negative connotation. What would be the opposite of ignorance? Something positive, something good, right? And that would be knowledge. So if we look at ignorance, avidya, we say darkness. And that's a normal colloquial expression that we say when you are in darkness, you have no knowledge, you have no light. So if you are in a dark room and if you have to light a candle, you feel better because there is some light. So we are dispelling the ignorance, we are taking away that negativity. So here it is explained, and it says so beautifully that in this world, in this material world, we are all suffering from ignorance, avidya. We are all in the state of actually in a very dark and gloomy state. And in the translation of text 7, it is likened, there's a metaphor that is used here. The holy name, character, and pastimes and activities of Krishna are all transcendentally sweet like sugar candy. So it is explained, Srila Rupa Goswami explains that this nectar of the holy name is sweet. And I think all of us, I'm not sure how many sweet tooths we have here, sweet teeth that we have here this morning, but we enjoy a good sweet at the end of a meal. So when we look here, we look at this, the holy names, the activities, the pastimes of Krishna is like sugar candy. Although the tongue of one afflicted by the jaundice of avidya, and we know what's yellow jaundice, right? We know this really, really terrible disease. And the Ayurvedic cure for this disease is actually sugarcane juice. sugar candy. And it is explained here that although when you have the disease of jaundice, the treatment, the Ayurvedic treatment for this disease is actually something sweet. But what happens when you are in ignorance, when you have this jaundice state of life? You cannot taste anything sweet. It is wonderful that simply by carefully chanting the sweet names every day, a natural relish awakens within the tongue, and his disease is gradually destroyed at the root. Another very important word there in the translation, that due to the sweetness of the holy name or the nectar of our chanting, if we focus and if we do that, we would be rid of this disease of ignorance, this disease, this jaundice state that we are all suffering with in material life. And the cure for that disease is actually the sweet nectar of the holy name. So as we gather like this, as we have these morning programs, as Srila Prabhupada has set out a very stringent way to follow and practice Krishna consciousness, once we do that consistently, we are able to get to the root of this disease. Now remember, as we know, another analogy is that if you have a plant and when you are watering the plant for it to sprout and grow beautifully, you nurture the root, right, and not the leaves. So when you take care of something from the core and you pay attention to that right at the root, it will sprout. So just like that, the root of bhakti, which is situated in our heart, and due to avidya, due to this ignorant state that we are in, our false ego has taken over. Now, just to break down the symptoms of this disease is that we have no taste for the holy name. Just like a symptom of yellow jaundice, it is explained here, the metaphor that's used, it is explained here that when you have jaundice as a disease, you are unable to taste the sweetness of the treatment. And what is the treatment? We say the sugarcane juice or the sugar candy. So we're unable to relish that sweetness. Whereas if I have to offer it to you all seated here this morning, I think many of us would enjoy a nice piece of sugar candy. Right? We'd be able to relish that taste. But if I have to give that to a person who's diseased, they are unable to appreciate that sweetness. They are unable to appreciate their Lordship Shri Shri Radha Radhanath ki jai, Sriman Mahaprabhu ki jai, Shri Giriraj Gaurvardhan ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So if I have to give that sweet sugar candy to a person who's has this disease, they are unable to appreciate it. So too, we have the holy names. We have this prescription from the doctor. We have the prescription from Guru, from Acharyas, from Bhagavad Gita, from Lord Sri Krishna himself, that the holy name is there. And this can rid us of avidya, the ignorance. All we have to do is we have to take it as prescribed. We are all in this material world seeking happiness, some form or the other. We are knocking on the door every single day of happiness. We are knocking to say, yes, today we're going to be happy. If I'm not happy today, I'll try harder tomorrow. If I'm not happy tomorrow, when I try harder, I'll try a little harder the next day. In the material consciousness, in the material way of life, where we're seeking this happiness externally, we're becoming dependent on others to make us happy. How true is that? We are seeking that external happiness from outward relationships, perhaps in our workplace. All of these things, we are seeking that outward happiness, and we are not doing the inner work that actually brings about the real form of happiness. So when we are content and happy within ourselves, by chanting of the holy name, by this taking in the sweet nectar, then we dispel the potency of Maya. Now, very simply put, if I have to share the story of the Great Wall of China. Now, this Great Wall of China was built many, many years ago. And it was built really, really strong and high for the protection of the territory, right, in Beijing, from those who could come and attack and take over the land. History dictates, history tells us that. And what happened is that I think, even it is said that this wall is so high and so tall that from space you can actually see this wall. And for centuries it stood just for protection of land. However, those that came to attack Beijing, to attack China, it was easy to come into the territory. And why? They didn't have to break down the wall. They didn't have to penetrate it in any way. Not at all. What did they do? They bribed the security guards. Right back from in the day. They bribed the security guards and they gained access past the Great Wall of China. Now, why am I sharing this with you? Because that's the sneaky ways of Maya. Maya sometimes comes in the most unbelievable ways of when the mind is still, when the mind is not active. They say an idle mind is the devil's workshop. We've all heard that, right? So when the mind is still, Maya creeps in and sneaks in the most sneakish of ways. Just like how this great wall was built, we've put up these walls so that nobody can come and access our territory. And if those want to come, those criminals want to come in and attack us, they have to break it down. We're going to be noticing all of this and so on. But nothing of that sort happened. 3 times, actually, because the security was just bribed and they were allowed access into their territory. So therefore, when the mind isn't actively involved in something spiritual, in something good, in Krishna consciousness, in chanting the holy name, as it is the cure for this disease is quite interestingly and simply put. What happens then is that this Maya comes in a very subtle way. And what happens, it gives you a sweet taste first and it says, oh gosh, I'm going to bring you happiness. And then what happens, Srila Prabhupada even says here in the purport very nicely, that when you make a mistake, you try and make another mistake to rectify the first mistake. Has that ever happened to you? You decide, you get into something and then you say, no, this actually wasn't for me, but let me do something else to try and rectify it, and you get deeper and deeper and deeper into it. And by the time you are in this cave, you are in avidya, you are in ignorance, and you cannot pull yourself out of it, because you are you're making one mistake to rectify the mistake that you have already made. So these impressions Maya leaves in our heart. And if it's a very, a small hope we have, as the purport also says, hope against hope. Yes, we need hope. Every day we need hope, especially in this material world. Life is becoming so challenging. And it is said in Kali Yuga that we are going to experience so many calamities, and we see that daily. We already see how life is becoming so much more difficult. If we thought it was difficult before, but every day, whether it's disease, whether it's warfare, whether it's crime, whether it's just the basic cost of living, we find it challenging that this world is consuming us materially. So we want to have hope. Yes, we want to have hope. As I always say, with every sunrise, there's always hope. Why with the sunrise? Because that brings light. It dispels the night. It dispels ignorance or avidya. It brings knowledge. It brings positivity. It brings warmth. However, we do not need to hold on to false hope. And we need that true hope, not false hope. Srila Prabhupada says here, when there's collective avidya or collective ignorance is by scientists, philosophers, politicians, our said great leaders. If we have to look at the state of the world today, it is true At the moment, the Americans are all discussing the Roe versus Wade judgment, right? There's conflict. There's people there says, yes, we are pro Roe versus Wade, the abolishment of abortion cases. That's the new discussion there by the political leaders. The others are saying, well, no, we are going to fight this and say every person has their own human right. So what is it saying about our political situation? What is it saying about our leaders of society? Scientists who believe that they've conquered everything cannot really find a proper cure for COVID-19. So we have all of these great philosophers, the scientists. We feel that we are progressing in this way, but actually we are taking so many steps back because our mind is not cleansed from this real disease that's situated deep in our heart. Our false ego has taken over. And false ego simply means that we become attached to our body more than anything else. We are attached to power, we are attached to fame, we are attached to status. Status to say, yes, I'm this great politician. Oh yes, I am this person that I have so many big qualifications attached to my name. But what happens at the end of your life, all of that counts zero. What happens, the depth of the relishment of the nectar of the holy names, if you practice that consistently, that would actually bring you joy, and our final test will be passed with flying colors, the final test at the moment of death, when we remember Krishna as his servant. That is our eternal constitutional position. So here we have the cure from this disease of jaundice, this material life, having this distaste for the holy name, having this distaste for the sugar candy, the sweetness or the nectar of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. And Srila Prabhupada explains that once we become attached to chanting the holy name at different levels, we will automatically find comfort and peace, contentment, all those things that we are seeking outside, externally. We will find it within ourselves because we are tapping into the soul. Now remember, we have senses. As human beings, we all have senses, right? Your taste, your smell, your touch. All of these things are our senses, our sense objects. And we want to tap into those sense objects for enjoyment. We want to enjoy with those senses. We want to have a good meal for our palate. We want to enjoy our bodily concept of life, our false ego. We want to tap in and delve into this. And when we become disappointed, what did I say? We try harder. We try again. We say tomorrow we're going to try harder to be happy, because we want to have the sense enjoyment. But our real position is actually where it's deep within the soul. And that soul connection, the soul is connected to Krishna. And that enjoyment, if we enjoy as servants of Krishna, we will never be disappointed. We will never be disappointed, because that is our eternal position. That deep connection. So instead of connecting with our sense objects, with the false ego, when we connect with the soul, we are able to bring that onward happiness. And that's when we attain bhav, the awakening of the love for Krishna. And Srila Prabhupada explains that no attachment in the bodily concept of life will ever bring happiness. No attachment to the body will bring happiness. Krishna and Maya are distinctly different, right? Your eternal constitution is servants. We are all servants. But here we want to become free. We want to become free of Krishna. We want to bring this external happiness. So as long as we are not relishing the holy names, as long as we are apart, we are doing things mechanically in the world. We are doing it mechanically. Tomorrow we'll get up Monday morning if we have to go to work, do our duties, get onto our meetings, whatever. It becomes a mechanical system. Look at your calendar to say, okay, today's Monday, I have A, B, C, D. This is what I need to do for my day. It becomes a routine. Is it pleasurable? And at the end of the month, what do we get? A paycheck which goes to so many different bills. And we start again the next month. How much pleasure, how much joy, how much inner fulfillment and contentment are you receiving from that? But if you schedule your day to be of service, if you have devotee association, if you read from Srila Prabhupada's books, if you listen to a podcast on your way, it's become so easy now. Access to all of this has become so easy. We could listen wherever we are, right? We could, and everything's online. We have easy accessibility. There's no excuse anymore to say that we don't have time. Because as you're driving to work in your vehicle, you are able to turn on and listen to a podcast from some great Swami from across the world. How wonderful are we tapping into all of that inner connection and inner fulfillment. So actually we know that, and we know the famous Jeev Jago, wake up, the soul, wake up, Gaura Chandra Bole. Right? Gaura, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So when the soul is asleep, it is disconnected, and we have this pseudo-reality. We are in this dream state because we disconnected. We are in Maya, we are in ignorance, avidya. So today we are actually talking about how we are going to bring in real happiness, and we need to recognize this. So I'm going to give you a very, very simple acronym for happiness, right? A simple acronym where we are going to be looking inwardly rather than going outwardly. And we're going to be talking about japa. We're going to be talking for the next few minutes about how we can become more connected with our japa, more present with our japa. Because yes, the formula is there, but if we become mechanical in the way we do it, we will not get the complete outcome that is offered to us by Krishna consciousness, by Srila Prabhupada. So if we're going to sit here and if our mind is going to wander, and we're going to sit here and chant, but we're thinking about something else, yes, there will be some connection, but we are not going to actually get right to the root, as Srila Prabhupada says, to the root, and cleanse our heart. Take out all the anarthas, all the desires, the material desires. We're going to leave that little space for Maya to creep in every now and then. So like a story that, in terms of the mind, the story of a genie, right? And a childhood story that many children are told, you know, they like these stories of genies. And so we too as adults, we like to believe that miracles can happen. So a boy was walking to school one day, and he found a little copper coin on the floor. And he picked it up and, you know, he looked at it and he said, oh, what is this? So when he rubbed it together, this coin, he rubbed it in the palm of his hand, a genie appeared. And when that genie appeared and popped up and says, hey, I'm a genie, I'm your genie, and you found me, and I will do whatever you want. Just give me an instruction and I'll fulfill it for you. I'll fulfill this desire. So this boy now became so distracted on his way to school, and he was quite excited because this genie popped up. And he said, let me check it out. Let me try. And he told the genie, okay, I don't want to go to school. You bring the school here. So school popped up in front. He says, yes, now I'm done with that. You tell me what's next. So the boy says, okay, I want a warm meal. Can I please have a nice meal? And the boy gave him whatever he liked. And the genie, automatically it appeared in front of him. Now the boy says, hey, this genie is good. Let me see what else I could ask. And the boy asked for whatever else, whether it was toys or whatever else that he always wanted. And the genie popped it up. Now the genie says, I'm bored. I'm so bored. I've given you everything you want. Please tell me. If you do not give me another instruction, I am going to eat you up. Now this boy says, but what else am I going to ask this genie? I've asked him everything. He's fulfilled. He's been so competent. He's been so efficient. There's nothing that he couldn't give me. So this boy says, I don't want to be eaten up. Now I've got everything I always ever wanted from this genie. So he looked at this big tree that was next to them. And he says, well, see, look at this tree now, genie. I want you to go up and come down and go up and come down and continue doing that until I have another instruction for you. So the genie says, yes, no problem. I can do that. And the genie continued doing that. So same too, that genie was kept busy until the boy said, now let me think what else to ask. Our mind is like that. It races. It wants to do the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. We're never satisfied. Right? We want to try. Now this genie is going up and down and up and down. It needs to be occupied. It needs to be occupied. So our mind is just like that. Our mind needs to be actively occupied. And how do we do that? We do that by being present in our Krishna consciousness. That is the only way, that is the formula, the nectar formula to get rid of this avidya and to bring about the light, dispelling the ignorance. So that active mind, now the genie is occupied, the genie is going up and down that tree, so the genie would not come back to disturb this boy until the boy finds another instruction. So when the mind is gainfully occupied with devotional service, with reading, with chanting, with becoming intelligent spiritually, we will not be shaken by Maya. We will not be shaken by the externals of the world. Our senses and our sense objects will not trouble us because our mind, we need to engage our mind as our friend. And when we do that, we would see that there will be light. That we'd be happier people. And we're talking about spiritual happiness, right? So when we look at material happiness, and I'm just going to take this off for a minute. When we look at material happiness, we look at understanding, as I said earlier, we look at understanding that in material life, we become so much more focused on gaining things, working harder tomorrow, acquiring more wealth, right? That's another big one. But when we look at spiritual happiness, we look at something very, very simple. And a very simple acronym for that is SING. So in our spiritual life, spiritual happiness comes from this. Our S is we are special. Why are we special? Because from all the forms or all the living entities, as human beings, we are given intelligence. Am I right? From all the entities that are around us, whether it's bugs, whether it's different creatures, whether it's wildlife, whatever. But we are special because we are human beings. We need to use this life in a special way. And in that way, we need to get our spiritual spark, that spiritual intelligence. You've heard about EQ, your emotional intelligence, your IQ. Now we're talking about our spiritual intelligence because as human beings, we have that quality to become inward, to dive inwardly, our spiritual intelligence. The next one is that it is always increasing. When we tap into our spiritual intelligence, our spiritual bank account never ever decreases. Never decreases. It's always we are accumulating. We've heard this, that when we go, as I said earlier, when we go, we work for the month, we earn our salary. At the end of the month, we hear our cell phones going ding, 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 ding. All the money is going out for different things. Done. Start again. Because it's a mechanical process. But here, our spiritual bank account is ever increasing. So the more we hear from class, the more we read, the more we associate with devotees, the more we imbibe a good mood of devotional service, the more we chant. All of this is increasing our bank account. The next one, it is non-dependent. Non-dependent or independent. We are not depending on externals for happiness. We are not depending on our senses and our sense objects. So we're not looking to A, B, or C to make us happy. And what happens when we look to A, B, and C to make us happy? What happens? There's disappointment. 90% of time, there's disappointment. When we invest so much in Maya, when we invest so much externally, we are becoming dependent on others. We are becoming dependent on external situations. We are looking for happiness outside. We are depending on others for that happiness. And what happens? That happiness is not there if somebody says the wrong thing, if there's something that goes negatively at work. Because we are so dependent, it affects us. So this spiritual intelligence, we are non-dependent on the externals, but rather we become dependent where? Within our soul, internally. We become dependent on Krishna. And there's no disappointment there. Guaranteed. When we awaken that spiritual intelligence, there's no disappointment. And the last one, we are generous. When we internally happy, we spread generosity, we spread peace, we spread love, we spread kindness, we spread the holy name to others. Because that holy name we know has brought us happiness. So naturally, as devotees of Krishna, as the purport says, this International Society for Krishna Consciousness, we start spreading this love. We start chanting and dancing together. We become actively involved in society. We get out there. So we dispel this collective avidya. We dispel this notion of politicians know it all, of science is the best, because we are happy internally that we give the holy names to others. Now, when we're talking about this holy names, and we say, Srila Prabhupada says here in the purport that we are looking at it actively, where we have to do it, we have to understand that spiritual life, we have to be really, really active in a sense of our japa has to be correct, because we have offenses, right? We know that there's our 10 basic offenses in our japa. Now, how do we work on that? How do we become more present in our chanting so that our chanting and our japa, the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, does not become mechanical to say, yes, I know I have to chant 16 rounds a day. Let me sit here and just chant, but my mind is wandering. So there's two aspects of that. There again, there's two aspects to that. Right, where we become an environment for chanting japa. The external factors, so a suitable environment for chanting the holy names or our japa. We look at the external factors that are around us and the internal factors. So here, I'm going to just put this down, the method and the mood. The mood would be what? Our internal, how we feel, what is our mood. And the method is our external situation or our ambience. So anybody could tell me one aspect of a method external. I'll start. Yes, Ranga, thanks. Right? So it's where we are situated. So where we're going to sit in a nice clean environment, sit next to Tulsi Devi. Also to lead from that, thank you Ranga, another point to lead from that is possibly wake up early, right? Try and get your japa in the morning, right? The Brahma Muhurta hour, early morning. Any other external factors? Sukumari? Should be clean, thank you. Very, very important one. Right? A clean environment. So we have a clean, neat sitting place. If we can also, if we can't, we could have devotee association to help us focus. Right? And importantly, if we move on to the next aspect, we look at our mood. And that's very, very important. Our mood, because it comes from internally. We are internally awakening this spiritual intelligence that's dormant in our heart. But because we are plagued with this disease of jaundice, as Srila Prabhupada, as it is explained here in text 7, that we cannot really taste that sweet nectar that's given to us in the holy name. So the mood in which we chant has to be in a very prayerful mood. Right? And I'm going to give you another acronym to help you remember this here. We're going to look at Harinam. So, if you look at the H for Harinam, we are going in with the mood of helplessness. To say, please, Lord Sri Krishna, help me. Get rid of this Maya, get rid of this dust that has settled in my heart. I need your mercy, this helplessness. That's what we are looking at. The next one with the A is we are going into appreciation. Gratitude, something so important for all of our experiences. You know, and I read something yesterday that I'd like to share. I actually took it down. Krishna plans your present, foreseeing your future. And I will say that again. Krishna plans your present, foreseeing your future. So sometimes we are so stuck in not understanding, Krishna, what is your plan? What is your plan? I thought this is going to happen, you know. But he's planning your present. He may not give you something you really wanted because he's planning for your future. And then when finally you have to be patient, and when that happens, then you sit back and think, that is why it didn't work out at that point. Krishna was planning this for me. So he's looking at your future. So we may be impatient and saying, but we're chanting our japa, but things are not working out. Krishna is not doing this for me. This is how I want my life to be, and it's not working out. But because we can't see the bigger picture, Krishna can see it. He is planning for our future. So when we look at the appreciation, our gratitude for every experience in life, if we have this grateful energy, if we appreciate even the most difficult of circumstances, but when we chanting our japa, we are appreciating, the appreciation is there to say, yes, whatever calamities are coming into my world, into this material realm, I have the holy names, and I'm going to awaken that love for Krishna. I'm going to be non-dependent on the externals to make me happy. Then we have the R, which is the responsibility. To take on this human form of life responsibly. In our japa, in our day-to-day living, when we become responsible for ourselves, we will act. We will act as representatives of our acharyas. The next one, when we chant with intention. I'm not just going to come here and have a seat and then just say, okay, it's time to chant my 16 rounds and let me just get it done now. I've got so many other things to do for my day. Am I going to get anywhere with that mood? No. So when we become intentional, and why are we doing this? Because we really, really want to make this work for us. Then we get the benefit out of it. We know the need for this inner connection. We understand the need. We are in alignment to all of this. Our pronunciation, our posture, we sitting near Tulsi Devi, we have either a kirtan playing in the background so our mind does not become frivolous in our activity. And the M, I'd like to end off with a positive one. We are merry, or we are happy in doing what we are doing, in chanting our japa. It does not become a mechanical process of something else that we're doing in life, another task that's going to be fulfilled. So when we are able to imbibe this method and mood in our daily chanting of our japa, we get rid of the avidya. Of course, it takes consistency. Like you go to the gym for the first time. Right? You go to the gym for the first time. In 2 weeks' time, can you see a difference? Can you say, I've lost 4 kilos? No. It takes consistency. It takes that practice. It takes, yes, okay, so today I found that my mind was wandering on something. Tomorrow I'm going to try harder. I'm going to try and rectify. I'm going to become more intentional. I'm going to become more prayerful when I sit to chant. I'm going to try and wake up a little earlier, so that at least I could get a few rounds in before I have to go out and do my duties for the day. So when we imbibe this mood of Krishna consciousness, we are then able to get to the real nectar of life, that's spiritual intelligence. And essentially, this is what the verse tells us, that the cure to the disease of avidya, the cure to the disease of this jaundice is there waiting for us. The doctor has prescribed it. So you go to the doctor and he'll ask you, what's your symptoms? Based on your symptoms of illness, he's going to give you the prescription. 1 tablet 3 times a day. You've heard of that? After meals. With a probiotic, don't forget. If you don't follow that, are you going to get healed? No. So too, everything's Srila Prabhupada has given us. So I'm going to pause there or end there if there's any comments or questions or reflections or thoughts. I'm hoping that, I know that we all seated here this morning have been in Krishna consciousness and understand the importance, and I just hope that this would be a nice refresher to make us understand that sometimes we can become complacent. Sometimes we become complacent to say, yeah, I've got devotional service, I've got to do this, I've got to do that, and my japa is a part of my got-to-do list. And because the mind is such, next, we tend to slack when it comes to this. But this actually is so important for that internal spiritual happiness. And this one being so important, this non-dependence on the external sense objects. We become more dependent on Krishna in our day-to-day life. We start seeing things with a different vision. Our heart becomes happier. and we get rid of that avidya or that ignorance in our world. And then we become generous, we become happy, we become tolerant, we forgive others, we become content, we become peaceful, but ultimately we awaken our spiritual intelligence, which is already in our heart. We just need to awaken it through these steps. Yes, Ranga. Yes. Pronunciation, posture, prayer. Yes, thank you. So as Rangadevi has said, that there's the 3 P's also here. The posture, the pronunciation, and prayer, to remind us. Trying to navigate this with one hand. Right, your posture, your prayer, pronunciation. How we pronounce. Because if essentially, we're delving deep. We're using this as an internal process. Let's not make it an external one. Then we don't get the true value and the true benefit of something in our lives. Ranga? And there you go, Rangadevi also explains that His Holiness Indradumna Swami reminds us that hearing is so important. That when we hear our chanting, remember, so it doesn't become mechanical, we become attentive, we become intentional. We are aligned with it. So when we hear, and there's something else that I was reading yesterday also, that even if you sit with one other devotee, you would find yourself so much more attentive in your japa. Even if it is with just one other person, and that is why in the morning program we have the japa session together. So we become attentive when we hear the holy names. And our mind doesn't run away. Our mind remains focused and fixed. And when that happens, all the dust seated in the soul, the heart, is removed or it is uncovered. So thank you all for your association, and I pray that these words could bring you some joy, peace, contentment, and we could delve more into awakening our spiritual intelligence. Ultimately, that's essentially what this human form of life is for. Thank you all. Their Lordship Shri Shri Radha Radhanath Ki, Sriman Mahaprabhu Ki, Giriraj Govardhan Ki, Srila Prabhupada Ki, Gaur Premanande, Hare Hare Bo. Hare Krishna.